multitask with the Instagram thing, it didn't go well.
I'm gonna be a gentleman. I'm gonna like pat it down with my jacket.
Thank you.
I don't need this jacket. I like smelling my coffee all day.
I've always been a klutz. Nothing's gonna change.
What is that scent? It's eau de coffee. Yes.
I just wear coffee. Okay.
All right, we're good. So.
Thank you.
Been to Calgary
Sorry.
before? Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay. Was that your own T-shirt that you gave her? Your assistant stage manager shirt off of her back, probably, right? There you go.
All right, thank you, assistant stage manager.
This is what we do for you in Calgary. We go the extra mile.
Very, very friendly. Thank you.
Okay, so.
I have been to Calgary before.
You have? Right.
Yes, I went to Banff, which was beautiful.
Yes, beautiful.
A long time ago now. And then I also went to Lake Louise, which was gorgeous.
Yes. Were you on vacation or filming?
Yeah, I was on vacation. Just visiting with friends and just traveling.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Super nice people too. That's the only good thing. But never a convention. This is your first Calgary Expo.
First Calgary Expo, yeah.
Are we happy to have her? Yes? So this is my 5th year in a row here, and I moderate a lot of panels. And they asked me this year, who would you like to moderate? And I'm going to tell you honestly, I said your name first.
Are you sure?
I am
Just saying that.
No.
I think you say that's all the calls.
No. You may think that's no. But I did say I would love to moderate Jennifer Morrison. Now, doing background research as a moderator would, you try to find some point of reference where you have something in common with that person. And I realized we both started our acting careers at the exact same time. Your first project was Intersection at the age of 14 in 1994.
Yes.
My first acting gig was 1994. I was not 14, but it was 1994. Yes. The other thing is, when you were younger, you were an all-stage Illinois clarinet player. Is that right?
Was.
And on Voyager, I had to play the clarinet.
No way!
So clarinet.
We're so connected.
It's kind of weird. I feel like if I was a Caucasian female, 11 years younger, I'd be you.
Yes.
But I also want to tell you that of the many performances that you had, of all the TV shows and films that you've done awesome performances from one actor to another. But one of the most moving performances that I felt that you did was the character of Winona Kirk in the 2009 Star Trek movie. Okay?
Nice.
Now, it's not a very long scene that you're in, but as an actor, I think it's incredibly difficult to play the role of a mother who just gave birth to James Tiberius Kirk, knowing that your husband is 36 seconds away from death, basically.
Supposed death.
Supposed death, right. So, the way you handle that, and that scene is probably in the first 5-6 minutes of that entire film. And I would say, being a sci-fi fan, I've seen all the Star Trek movies. That was the first movie and that first scene that I ever cried in.
Wow.
It brought me to tears. And
That's awesome.
I went on to see that movie probably 10 times at the theater, and every time that first scene that you're in that you did, it brought me to tears. So I just want to say the work that you put into that, you should have had an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for that scene alone. I'm sorry. So
Thanks.
And that's the whole #1 reason why I really, really wanted to moderate you, to tell you that, so that you should pat yourself on the back. So, all right, okay, enough about me. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there. So we have microphones on this side, we have microphones on this side. So we're gonna start right off with this young lady with her question. Go ahead.
Hi, my question is, on Once Upon a Time, did you create any connections with the actors and who?
Did I want any connections?
Did you make any connections with the actors and who, in terms of, I guess, personal friendships? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, Jennifer Goodwin and I were friends before the show. So we'd been friends for years, which was nice, knowing that I was going into that adventure with someone that I was already close with. And I feel like all of us had different connections on the show. Some of the people that I worked with the most, obviously, I got really close to. I spent a lot of time with Colin and his family, Michael Raymond James when he was there, he and his family, Jamie Dornan and Millie when they were there. So, it was sort of depending on what was going on in the storyline, who I was spending the most time with, but we were really lucky. We had really great cast members on that show.
Thank you very much. Okay, on this side, please.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Did you take any
set or prop pieces as keepsakes from either House or Once Upon a Time? And if so, what? There might be a dark one dagger in my house. Maybe. Just saying. I'm not saying for sure. Just saying maybe. I didn't take anything officially from House. I think I was like too nervous, but I do have all my badges, all my hospital badges. All my little official Dr. Cameron badges. So those I recently came across, so I have all those.
Thank you. Too nervous to take something from the house set?
Because there was like an issue on that set because House always had such specific relationships with objects and things, and stuff would disappear all the time, and so things were always on lockdown. And I was like, I didn't want to be the person responsible for the missing item, So.
Right. That makes sense, because he's a little neurotic, right?
Well, just in general, I just didn't, it's like there was a whole world of things that were very important that I didn't want to mess with.
Right. Well, you could have asked Hugh beforehand, like, can I steal this? And,
he probably would have been like, no.
Next question, please.
Hi, you've mentioned recently that you started working on a few writing projects, and I was wondering what made you decide to start writing, and do you have any advice for aspiring writers?
I have yet to complete anything, so I don't think I'm a good person to give advice yet. Part of what inspired me to start writing is because I started directing, and you end up having such an intimate relationship with the material that you're working with when you're directing that I felt like there were stories that I knew I wanted to tell, and I wanted to tell in a very specific way, and so I think it's going to take some time because I'm hard on myself and I'm picky, and I've been reading content for so long that I have a feeling that the first things that I generate will probably not be great, and it will probably take some time for me to get it to the level of quality that I want to get it to. But I feel like I've got to just throw myself in it and try. So I'm kind of just jumping in and trying to figure out how to find my way through that, and asking advice of people around me who have been succeeding at it, and doing the best I can to take as much as I can from that advice. So I'm sorry I don't have more advice yet. I'm in the midst of trying not to fail at it myself, so I'll let you know if I figure it out.
Thank you for that. Speaking of directing, I just watched Sundogs the other day.
Thanks.
Yes, and congratulations, good job. Very thoughtful piece, definitely. How did you come about? Was that a random submission, or how did
No, that was written by a writer that wrote the film Warrior, which I was in, and he'd had this script for a very long time, and it hadn't quite found a home, and he saw my short film Warning Labels and really liked it, and so I was given an opportunity to option the material, so it just started that way.
So that would be your production company, Apartment 3C's first film that you... or was Warning Labels under that label?
Yeah, no, you're right. I was trying to think if the music videos were under Apartment 3C or not. I can't remember. Maybe not. I think technically Sundogs was the first film.
Okay. What music videos did you direct?
There's a band called Wild Wild Horses, and I did a series of 4 videos that fit together as one film. So, and that was right after I did Warning Labels. But I think Apartment 3C only existed right before Sundogs. Yeah.
Got you. And can Warning Labels be seen on Netflix?
Yeah, Warning Labels is on iTunes.
On
actually.
iTunes.
Yeah, so you can get Warning Labels on iTunes and Sundogs on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Press play on Netflix.
Yes, everybody watch Sundogs.
The more you press play on the Netflix, the more it trends. So that's good.
All right, over here, please.
Your favorite memorable development for Emma was? Sorry, I'm sorry. Say that one more time. What was your favorite character development of Emma was? Oh gosh, there's so many things that I love about Emma. It's part of what I loved about the whole journey as the character was that she got to grow and change so much, and that's not always the case on television. And so I felt very lucky to play a character like that. And I think that there was an interesting journey of her getting close to her son, and then there was an interesting journey of her letting her parents in after her walls being up so much about knowing that she felt abandoned for so long and all those things. And I think as she was getting through all of that, it was also interesting to go through the period of the Dark Swan time because I think for her to face her demons in that way and kind of face the darker parts of herself in that time and overcome that was also an important part of her journey. And you know, as an actor, when you've been doing a show for a long period of time, to have something shift and change like that and have a new opportunity was also just really fun for me. So I would say the journey leading up to that and then ultimately her going through that was really fun.
Thank you for that. Question over here.
Hi Jennifer. Hi. I'm like one of your biggest fans, and I was wondering when Emma Swan would come back to Once Upon a Time, if ever.
Yes. So the show is ending at the end of season 7, and the very last episode of season 7, I do go back for a little bit. So I'll be there for a little bit.
That's kind of like become a pattern, like, because House, you kind of took off before the end and came back a little bit. And then,
well, it was 2 different situations, you know. I mean, interestingly, like television contracts, I guess now they're 7 years, but when I was signing those contracts, they were 6 years. House, I would have happily continued, but they didn't feel like they had storylines for that character anymore. There had been a lot of characters that had joined the show at that point, and they weren't really using Dr. Cameron that much anymore. And so that was the producer's decision to kind of continue without Cameron at that point. And then with Once Upon a Time, it was different because my contract was up and I was personally really struggling with being away from home so much. You know, I was just, you know, it's 9.5, almost 10 months out of the year once you add it all up, and it was 6 years of my life, and I was away from my family and my friends, and I just was not feeling like it was the right thing for my life to continue being that far from my life. And so I made the decision on that one to do what I felt like was right for my life. So that didn't happen to happen at 6 years, but they were for 2 different reasons.
that's very courageous also, to just say, look, I need to do what's right for me, you know, see my friends.
Well, I sit here and I tell you guys to do that, so I felt like I had to be brave enough to do it for myself.
But you had your dog with you though, right? Didn't you have a...
Yeah, she would travel back and forth with me.
There you go, that's good. Next question over here.
Hi, season 3 of Once Upon a Time is my favorite season, so I was wondering what season was your favorite of the show and why?
There's so many great things about each season, and I could sort of single out something about each season that I loved, but I do think that first season was really special. We all were embarking on this brand new journey together, and it was really exciting, and I really loved the structure of the storytelling that year, and the idea that you know, that Emma really started out not believing, and the whole journey that she had to go on to come around to realizing the truth about all these things. So I would have to say the first season.
I think they agree. Okay, thank you for that. Next question, please.
Hi Jennifer, I was just wondering, on Once Upon a Time, if you could have played any other character besides Emma Swan, who would it be and why?
It's always tricky because I love Emma so much. I'm so protective of her that I'm like, I can't imagine playing anyone else. Gosh, I don't know. I've always kind of joked that I guess maybe like Prince Charming. I feel like he's kind of got a fun thing that he does. I don't know. I just love Emma. I just can't picture being anyone but Emma. I think maybe I'm too close to it. I think I love her too much. Sorry, that's a bad answer for you, but that's what I'm sticking with.
I think they're happy with any answer from you, to be honest. Okay, over here, please.
Miss Morrison, one of the things I really liked about Once Upon a Time was how it reinterpreted so many of these various characters from the public domain. Some of them just a little bit, giving them more nuance, but some of them were just way out there, like very different. Were there any of these great interpretations that really shocked you the most, and why?
I was really intrigued by their interpretation of Peter Pan, because I grew up loving that story, and you know, loving Wendy and Tinkerbell and the idea of the Lost Boys, and it was always such a sweet story in my mind. And so to see them rethink that with Peter Pan as a villain, and I think very well justified in the way that they approached it in terms of the idea of him clinging to eternal youth in some way that was selfish and dark. I really thought that rethink was surprising and interesting, and I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Yes, young lady.
Hi. character on Once Upon a Time and why?
I'm gonna go with Baby Hope. Oh shoot, did I just give away something I shouldn't give away? Oh well, it's over. My baby's name is Hope and she's adorable. I'm gonna go with her.
Not a spoil. And then the baby was
You'll
cute.
meet her eventually. I'm totally in trouble, but oh well. What are they gonna do? Fire me?
In the words of George Takei, oh my. Okay, over here.
Hello. Out of all the fairy tales that have been covered, do you feel that there have been any missing?
I don't know. I feel like we were pretty extensive. But I feel like you guys always have good ideas for me on this one. What were we missing? Someone give me a good one that we've been missing. Moana? We should have done Moana. We never did Moana.
Like other cultures' mythologies,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know. I would have loved, I know this is not Disney, but I would have loved to have Pippi Longstocking. I just think she's so fun.
The movies, the old movies, right?
Yeah.
Those are great.
But other than that, I feel like, we did Aladdin, we did, we even did The Wicked Witch, which, yeah, and we did Dorothy, and we did Little Red Riding Hood, and we did so many different stories. I feel like they kind of covered the full spectrum. But I would have liked some Pippi Longstocking.
Thank you for that question. Over here, there you go. Yes.
Who's your favorite actor?
I have a lot of favorite actors and a lot of people that I really admire, but I have to say, at the moment, in the last few years, I'm really obsessed with Nicole Kidman. I think she's always been outstanding, she's always been so committed, she's always given herself over so fully to the character she plays, but I just feel like every time she gets better, and I really aspire to that. I want to feel like everything I do each time I get better, I hope, I try. And I think she is a really excellent example of someone who just continues to grow and evolve and takes on interesting roles and is really, really fearless in a way that I really admire.
Thank you. I just also want to comment on your choice of clothing. You
My Wonder Woman shirt.
She's wearing a Wonder Woman shirt
But
underneath.
this was a gift at a fan convention. I don't know who gave it to me. I should have remembered they're like.
Here, I'll hold it. You got it? Okay.
So thank you whoever gave me my Wonder Woman shirt. And I felt like today was a good day to wear it.
It is a good day. Very apropos. Okay, yes, young lady over here.
So when you played with Emma Watson, did it feel good to
I didn't play Emma Watson.
Emma.
She's awesome too, though.
Did it feel good to kick people and hit them with their
See, these are the questions that children come up with for you.
No,
We love it.
it's a fair question. We don't really kick or hit anybody. It's not real. But I'm glad you thought it looked real because that means we did our jobs pretty well. It's actually quite tricky to fake kick or hit, because you have to sell that it looks right without ever hurting someone. And we had an amazing stunt team and stunt coordinator, Maya, who was awesome, and she always made sure we were safe, and she always worked out the choreography and worked with all of us to make sure we felt safe with each other. So a big, important part of that is making sure everybody feels safe and taken care of. I feel like there's another question coming.
Is there part two?
It's part two.
Yeah.
I know that it's not real, but how did it feel?
Oh, okay, I didn't answer the question right, sorry.
Dark magic.
How did it feel to have magic?
And your hair slicked back.
I really love you. Okay, so when you go to a towel dispenser in the bathroom and you wave your hand and something comes out? That's kind of what magic feels like. You go and it goes, that's kind of what magic feels like a little bit. It's the closest example I can think of in real life. And in terms of having my hair slicked back, that was lovely because it was a lot faster to slick my hair back than to dry all of that hair. So it was a quicker morning for me. Of course, then we had to spray paint it white, which also was a whole other process. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of, it was fun. It was a fun look. I enjoyed playing the Dark Swan, and I enjoyed the process of evolving into her each day physically.
Do you think I can tweet that quote?
About
Magic is like a towel dispenser in a washroom.
Towel dispenser in the bathroom.
And then the sound effect.
Really, it's very satisfying when you've spent 6 years doing this and nothing happens, and you go to get a towel in the bathroom and you're like this, and it goes,
Yes.
so satisfying.
I'm gonna tweet that. Okay. Okay. When you see her at her table to say hi to her and get an autograph, just go up and go.
Listen, a paper towel dispenser brings me a lot of joy.
I agree. I'm agreeing with you. Okay. This young lady.
Hi. What is your favorite thing about Once Upon a Time?
You know, there's a lot of wonderful things about Once Upon a Time. I know I start every question with that answer, but it's true. But I would say that my very favorite thing is that it's a show about hope, and it's a show about positivity and about connectivity. And I think that there aren't a lot of shows like that, and it's really nice to be a part of something that encourages people to believe in themselves and to believe in the best versions of themselves and to have hope to have the life that they want to have.
Well said. Did you rehearse that before?
No, I didn't,
Okay.
but it's the truth.
I like that. Before you take the next question, I read something that you helped discover the source material for Glee. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Ian Brennan, who wrote the pilot of Glee eventually with Ryan Murphy, but originally wrote it, went to high school with me, and we were in Glee Club together. So a lot of that original story was a lot of stuff that actually happened to us in Glee Club. And I had just produced this little tiny movie called Flourish, and I was working with this producer, Mike Novick, and we were looking to see if we could get Glee, the film, made, because at the time it was a film script. And so we started shopping it around and sent it to a lot of different places, and a lot of people really loved it, but they didn't know what to do with music because Glee hadn't been on television yet. So in people's minds, they were a little bit intimidated of what it meant to put music into something. And in our research, Mike and I discovered that Ryan Murphy had been in show choir not only in high school, but in college. And we thought, what a perfect person to send this to, because he'll get it, he'll understand this world. And so, to make a very long story short, we ended up getting it to Ryan. Ryan really responded to it. Ryan wanted to turn it into a television show as opposed to a film. Mike and I went to Ian with it and said, you know, would you be open to this being changed into a TV show? He was very excited about the idea. So really, I just was a part of those early days of connecting the dots and sort of getting it on track. But I was still on house at the time, so it was not something that I could really actively, creatively participate in. I just was sort of, you know, early on a producer that helped find that connective tissue to kind of put Ian and Ryan together, and then it was their baby after that, but I helped connect the dots.
That's awesome that happened. Yeah, a lot of people were very happy that you did connect the dots. Without you, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, I think that's true. I hope so.
Right. So I'm going to pitch a project to you. It's going to be Jennifer Morrison and Garrett Wang play the clarinet. Okay. So.
I'm not having the same feeling I had when I read Glee.
Let's take the next question over here.
I was wondering if you like the new version of Once Upon a Time.
If I liked living.
The new version.
Oh, you know what? So because I find it difficult to watch the work that I'm in when I'm too close to it. I kind of had to step away and stop watching Once Upon a Time very early on. Not because I didn't like it, I love it. It's obviously one of the most important things in my life and one of the most important things that's ever happened to me. But I stopped watching a long time ago. So I haven't kept up with it because I stepped away from like visually taking it in a long time ago. But I've heard really wonderful things, and I've heard that people have been enjoying it. So I'm sure that as they continued it, it was just as wonderful as it was before.
Thank you. Next question on this side, please.
Hi. What was your favorite episode to act in?
I have a few favorites, but my very favorite was the musical episode. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I grew up doing musical theater in high school, and I have always loved musicals, and I felt like just the subject matter of the show and everything with all the fairy tales and all the Disney stories, it just felt like it really lent itself to being a musical, and we all had a really, really good time doing that episode.
Thank you for that. How about over here, please?
Hi, I'm Danielle. I was just wondering.
It's cool to just wonder about stuff.
What was your favorite fairy tale portrayal?
On the show?
Yeah.
There's lots of good ones. The rethink of Little Red Riding Hood was kind of intriguing. You know, I thought that it was interesting that the idea that she was actually the wolf, that it wasn't the traditional Little Red Riding Hood story. Anytime they kind of twisted a story like that and it was something completely unexpected or I didn't see it coming, I enjoyed that. I liked having the Frozen characters on the show. I thought that was great, and that was a really fun group to work with, and I liked the way that their storyline incorporated with all of us as well. That was another one I really enjoyed.
Great, thank you. Over here, young lady.
Hi. My question is, what's your favorite scene with Emma and Hook?
With who?
Emma and Hook.
Emma and Hook? We had lots of fun scenes. I think that there was the stretch of when we did the kind of Back to the Future storyline at the end of season 3. Am I right? Yeah? Okay. You guys know way more than I do, you always do. That whole stretch was fun, because it kind of felt like Hook and Emma in their own little movie together or something on that adventure. So we definitely enjoyed that. And Colin and I ate a lot of pizza during that time too. So I think that also affected my joy during that stretch of filming. So that was really fun. And then also, I know it was a part of the musical episode, but I think after everything those characters went through, it was really fun to have the wedding episode. I think that they went through a lot, and they went through so many battles and journeys to finally have this very happy moment together. So I enjoyed that too.
Thank you. Didn't you and Colin win a Teen Choice Award for Best Lip Lock Scene?
I think we did. Yeah, they didn't invite us.
What?
We won, but we weren't invited. I don't really understand how these Teen Choice Awards work.
How
But
bizarre.
some people get invited and some don't. Like even if you win, I don't know. I don't know what the protocol is, but I found out about it on Twitter. I had no idea.
They didn't send you an actual statuette? Or
No, but
of two lips?
But a fan sent us like a tiny miniature version of the surfboard, because
Oh,
the
yeah.
awards
Yes.
are surfboards.
Mhm.
So someone took pity on us and made us our own surfboard.
That's really lame of them. They should have sent you a
I
little
don't know how it works. I don't know what the rules are. I just know we weren't invited.
They should have invited you. If you win, you should be there.
You'd
right?
think, but we're not teenagers, so maybe we were just too old.
Maybe.
Maybe I was just too old.
Wow. I'm going to boycott Teen Choice Awards.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It's all good.
All right, here we go.
Is Emma's relationship with Hook or Henry better? Like, which one is stronger, I guess?
Hook or Henry?
Yeah. Like, is Emma's relationship stronger with Henry or Captain Hook?
Oh, well, I mean, I think no matter what, it's always going to be Henry. Obviously, I think Emma has a great relationship with Hook, and a relationship that evolved through all sorts of trials and struggles. But the only reason Emma ever gave Henry up was because she gave birth when she was in prison and didn't think she could give him a good life, and she wanted a good life for him, and for her to be given a second chance to be a mother to him and be close to him and be a part of his life in such a beautiful way. I think that mother-son bond is, that's unbreakable, and that's sort of bigger than anything else, I think the most important thing to her, for sure.
Great, thank you. Just a quick question. I have a couple of friends that are actors that worked on the show, and I'm just curious if you had any stories to tell about Lee Ehrenberg or Raphael Sabarge, either of those two gentlemen.
Lee and Raphael are both lovely. Like I said earlier, like we were so lucky because I feel like everyone who passed through it really contributed so much. And was so lovely to be around. Raphael is one of the kindest, most thoughtful men I've ever met.
Yeah.
I mean, just so lovely. You can talk to him for days, and he's just so kind, and he's a real comfort.
Yeah.
And an amazing actor. And Lee is such a fun energy. You know, he's so full of life and so full of joy, and is a natural leader. You know, and I think when you have someone who's a natural leader and has that kind of positive energy, it's always nice to have that on set.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right, so no dirt that you can give me.
I mean, come on.
Okay, off screen, off stage. All right.
Really, I mean,
No,
honestly,
nothing.
like, no, I'm not on those guys. There's
Not on those guys.
There's like no dirty laundry there.
Gotcha. This is just for my own personal ammunition with my friends. That's all. All right, next up question over here, please.
What's it like on Once Upon a Time working with a younger child?
Well, this was a particular experience only because I got to work with Jared for so many years, and I watched him grow up. When we started, I could kneel down and be eye to eye with him, and I'm 5'7", and he's taller than me now. So, you know, that's a really particular stretch of time to get to know someone, and to watch him balance being a real kid and just actually growing up with having to be very professional and having to work so hard on a set. It's really tricky for kids when they're working because they're on set for all these hours and there's rules and stuff about how many hours they can and can't work and things like that, but they have to do school at the same time, and that's hard. It's really hard. That's asking a little kid to work a full-time job and learn everything in school at the same time, and he managed that with such grace, and he's a really smart kid, and he's a really kind kid, and I really hope to see him have all his dreams come true, truly, because he feels like, you know, I feel like I got to be, you know, a surrogate mom to him through those years, and watch him grow up. So it was really special.
Nice. Thank you for that question. Let's move over here.
I met you earlier, and it was just, I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Just person, it's all good.
I have a comment and a question.
Okay.
I guess I'll start with my comment. This has been a really big trip for me because I've never traveled alone, just me, myself, and I. And with that, I think a lot about Emma because in the third season, she was so hesitant to living this life of fantasy, but no matter what fears came to mind, she made through it. And my question, more of a not so serious question, is how do you think Hook would react to the cartoon Hook? And would Emma comfort him, or would she be like, oh, come on.
What cartoon book are we talking about? The Hook?
Like the Hook in the Disney cartoon.
I mean, I think he'd have a sense of humor about it. He'd be like, that's not me at all. I'm far too cool to be that person. And I think Colin would say the same thing if he were here. But congratulations on traveling on your own. I think that's a big deal. And I love that you took that journey to come here.
Thank you. Look, she's got her travel bag with her, too. Look at that. Okay, over here, please.
Hi, I was just wondering, what was your reaction when you first noticed that Emma was going to be the dark swan, the dark one?
Well, I knew it was coming for a while because Eddie and Adam and I spent a lot of time figuring out who the Dark Swan was going to be, which was really fun. You know, it was a villain that had never existed before, so we weren't basing it on anything. So every detail of her had to be chosen, and we went through tons of images of different rock stars and different people in history and magazine tears of hair and makeup ideas and tons of sketches from Eduardo of different ideas of what the outfit might be and the symbolism of what it would mean to be a dark swan versus a white swan. And I did a ton of research about dark swans, and so it was a real journey because they really allowed me to help build her for a long period of time. So it wasn't something that kind of snuck up and came in. It was something that we definitely gave a lot of thought to, and also wanted to consider that within the midst of the whole show, knowing that ultimately Emma is the savior, and ultimately she did have a pure spirit in some way, and so we needed to work our way back to her overcoming her demons in some way, as opposed to giving herself fully over to them. So yeah, we kind of all worked together to figure out what that journey was going to be physically in terms of her look, and then also emotionally. But I really enjoyed the fact that A, they included me in that process, but B, that as an actor I got to do something that was so different than what Emma had been doing for so long, and explore that side of her and get to kind of stretch a little bit.
Thank you. Okay, question from this side, please.
Hi, I'm Haley. Who's the better kisser? Neil or Killian?
You guys just kill me with these questions. I'm just gonna leave it at, I've been a very lucky lady, that very kind, very handsome, very thoughtful, respectful men have been playing my love interest on the show, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Good answer. Okay. Over here, please.
Hi, my name is Lee, and I'm wondering, you've done so many different projects, like on Comedian, like on How I Met Your Mother, and Once Upon a Time, and House, like both dramatic and comedic roles. And I'm wondering, what's your best advice for an aspiring actor like myself?
Oh man, it's tricky. There's no one path. I think that's what's tricky about the entertainment industry in general, is that no two people have the same journey to where they end up. I think the best advice I can give is that try to immerse yourself in creativity in every way that you possibly can. Just because you may think of yourself as a comedian, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be exploring, taking dramatic acting classes as well, or vice versa. I always encourage people to take dance lessons, whether you think you're good at it or not. I think that connectivity and understanding of your body makes a huge difference when you're trying to transform into characters. You should take voice lessons, whether you can sing or not, for the same reason. Just immerse yourself in creativity in every way that you can, and then in the way that the world is now, we can make our own content in a way that we didn't used to be able to because of digital cameras and iPhones and all this stuff. And so I think what people are really looking for now is to see people find their own voice and find a way to express their creativity. So any outlet you can possibly find, whether you can create it yourself, you should take those opportunities to pursue those outlets and to really find your voice as a creator, and as an artist. And I think the more that you do that, and the more that you experience doing that, the better chance you'll have of having other opportunities fall into place, and that you'll be more prepared for it if those opportunities come your way.